Hello and welcome. I'm going to be taking you through our fitness studies segment, and we're going to be talking about the benefits of fitness, some forms of methods of training that will help our fitness, and what are some of the benefits that we can get from doing fitness as well. No doubt everybody watching, you would have experienced some form of fitness, whether it be through your sports, individual, or maybe a punishing circuit that Miss Breen might have done for your class as well. Cool. Everybody in this world's heard about fitness. It's nothing new, nothing's changed. People love fitness, love working out. Others hate the word, but know that they have to be fit either for individual lifestyle or for any sports that they're playing at this point in time. Others hate the word and hate having to work out as well. Fitness is the ability to carry out aspects of daily life and still have energy left over for emergencies. Now, just referring back to this thing about daily life, I just spoke about people having to be fit for either preference or for sports, or it might be just walking down to the shop and getting some milk for your mum. Now, if you find yourself huffing and puffing doing that, or walking up a flight of stairs, going to the movies, then fitness is going to help you out. Cardiorespiratory endurance, we know it as cardio. Your bike, your run, your preference in fitness, and what you want to do to get fit. The main thing is that we deliver oxygen to the muscle over long periods of time. And that period of time is 20 mins, 3 times a week. The intensity is low. So already now you should know what energy system we're working in here. The intensity is low, and that's at about 70% of max heart rate. And your max heart rate, for those that have forgotten, is 220 minus your age. And that's how many beats per minute you should be working at. Moving on to muscular strength. This is defined as Mr. Waitford. Chicks. If you didn't laugh, that's all good. Strength is vital, necessary in most sports. So it could be that difference between contesting for the ball in basketball, in netball, getting off the mark fast in rugby, and possibly bowling a couple of guys over at the same time, hopefully. I'm going to quickly, briefly just talk about how we train for muscular strength. So it must be heavy weights. With a low repetition, low reps, from about 4 to 6. Now, this is heavy weights depending on the individual. So if you're lifting 6 reps of a heavy bag and it's too easy for you, then that means that weight is too light, right? So you need to increase the weight, or vice versa. Alright, so if it's too heavy and you have only got to 2 reps, then you need to find a weight suitable so that you can stay within that zone. Right? And that's how we train for muscular strength. Muscular endurance refers to the ability of the muscle to be able to work and contract over a long period of time. And this period of time is a minimum of 20 repetitions. So if you think about your sit-ups, maybe lunges on a park bench, even just squats without weights, and scoping out the guns with low weight dumbbells. Right? That is muscular endurance, and this is important for any activities that involve endurance, your marathon runners, even to a certain degree your 80-minute rugby player, right? Because that involves some sort of endurance there as well. Flexibility is defined as the flexibility of a joint to move through its full range of motion. Now, that full range of motion is important in all sports. So you're running, so the more flexible you are, the more faster that you're going to be on the field, or the more faster that you're going to be on the track. And we do that by stretching out our hip flexors and being flexible throughout the legs as well, and not only that, our upper body. And anything involved with upper body work, you'll have to be a lot more flexible, especially your gymnasts, right, so they can perform the everyday skill, pretty much. Ballistic stretching is a combination of passive and dynamic stretching, and it involves a fast bouncing movement while stretching. It's generally only used by athletes that know their own limits and are supervised by their trainer. You can see here where it runs the risk of muscle and tendon damage, and it's just hazardous towards the body. Right? A typical stretching exercise given by rugby coaches. So if you haven't tried this exercise before, read it. Some of you've probably already done it in class or maybe even done it before. You'll soon see how this active stretch takes toll and works on that body. So you usually hold that position there for about a minute, have a little bit of a rest, and you might have to do it again. Sweet, so let's just get straight into it. The difference between static and dynamic stretching is that with static, you hold the stretch. Alright, and you generally hold the stretch for 20 to 30 seconds. I know on some old posters with the stretching guys on it, it's got hold for 12 seconds, but to get the full effect and the full benefits of lengthening that muscle, it's best to hold for 20 to 30 seconds, especially when you get old like me. Right? Opposed to static stretching is dynamic stretching, and dynamic stretching involves movement. And an example of this are leg swings. This is when you partner up with somebody and you pretend that you're kicking a ball without the ball there, and you're kicking your leg right high up into the air so that you get that full range of motion, and you're stretching out the hamstring. And this is important for running exercises. Right? So dynamic stretching has an advantage because it's specific to what the sport is. Right? So if the sport is running or involves movement, it's best to do dynamic. After the game or whatever, it's best to do static stretching. Right? So this prevents injury once again. In the game you might have taken a knock or damaged some muscle tissue somewhere, so it's better to do static stretching so that you can hold that stretch and you have a better chance of recovery the next day. Also, we want to try and get our muscles back to its normal resting length, right? So it's better to do static. Why is it important to warm up before the game? Common sense pretty much. It raises the temperature, gets the blood flowing. By doing that, we're warming up the muscles and we're preparing ourselves for the game, or for any sport. Right, first and foremost, body types, body composition is all dependent on genetics and your bone structure. Right, so our first one is endomorphic, which refers to our fat guy. We also have mesomorphic, which refers to our muscly guy here, and ectomorphic, which has the thin characteristics. And you can see the types of sports that are associated with that. All of these have advantages, and all of these different types work in the game situation to the best of their advantage. So I don't want you thinking, oh, the fat guy, he's not going to be able to do much. I want you to think back to biomechanics, where more mass equals more inertia, and also brainstorm and go back to think, what sort of games, sports are an advantage with having more inertia. Mesomorphic is the guy with large amounts of muscle, and they typically look athletic, a bit like myself. They typically play sports that require strength and endurance, and any sports to do with lifting, pulling, pushing, or anything like that. So if a winger that puts on a fend in a game or something like that. Ectomorphic refers to the thin guy. Right, so they're tall and slender, not much muscle mass, very little body fat as well, and because they're tall, they're suited to the sports such as netball, basketball, where they have to reach and contest for the ball. Also can mean they're good at, they have a very good aerobic fitness and good at the endurance type activities as well. Right, so just in summary, like I said before, body types are determined on genetics and bone structure, but with good exercise and diet, you can train your body type. So we all know balance is vital, and balance is important in sports, where you have to be of control of your body, whether it be you're balancing on a beam for world records or if you're having to be balanced to catch a ball. So just remembering back our principles of balance, where we have our acronyms of LOG, COG. I'm sounding like a gangster now, and just remember what these words are. So we've got a line of gravity, center of gravity. Where do we keep our line, right, in order for us to stay balanced? I also forgot the BOS, right? And if the line falls outside of our BOS, then hello, fall over. Sweet. So reaction time is pretty self-explanatory. The time it takes to process and initiate action. Our example here with the 100-meter start, the gun going off. Sprinters say that this is the most important part of their race, because if they're a little bit off, that's the difference between gold, silver, and no medal at all. Another example are our line-out jumpers for rugby. You cannot jump until that hooker throws the ball in. If you jump too early, then you give away a free kick. So it's all about timing on that one too, to process that action. And another sporting example, just to chuck it in there, would be a basketball tip-off right at the start of the game. Right, the two jumpers cannot jump until that referee chucks it up. Having the ball first gives the team a mental advantage at the same time. Agility is the ability to change direction suddenly when moving. That, for example, here we've got basketball players where they have to change crossover with the ball to get around their opponents. In rugby, the probably clearest example I can think of is Benji Marshall, a very agile rugby player. Is able to get other people off balance by being agile himself. And just examples of how we train agility is our ladder. Right, so we have ladder steps, and we're not climbing a ladder, of course. So this is a ladder flat out on the ground, and the aim of this is, while running through it, we want to be on the balls of our feet, quickly stepping through, so that while stepping through really, really fast without touching the ladder, we are practicing this ability to change direction while moving. Right. Most sports and team games, you need speed, right? Out and out speed, especially if you're on the wing for rugby or anything like that. But if you've got speed, you've got an advantage in the game. Pretty much what you need is technique. Right, so we're going back to our biomechanics of it. Also need strength and power, which we'll be talking about power soon as well. And just remember how many reps that you need to be doing and what the intensity is like for strength training. And you also need flexibility, and we also spoke about that before too. So pretty much, if you're wanting to be the fast guy and if you're wanting to train for speed, you need to aim for and train for technique. You also need strength. You also need power and flexibility. So we'll just put flexible in there. So down to power. Power depends on two things. We've already got them on top here. It depends on your speed and depends on what's going on here. What's doing? It depends on strength. So once these two are combining and interacting together, pretty much, you get explosive movements. Right? So muscular power, muscular force is sports such as your shot put, your discus. It's got jumping and powerlifting down there, and also is trained anaerobically.